Hey everyone, Mrs. Barberry and Snoopy here for another Read Aloud. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Story is for today, of course, with Scholastic granted us their permission for me to do this read aloud. Alright, Chapter 20. Inside Oz's Palace. A bearded mouse in uniform guarded the entrance to the Palace of Oz. The guardian of the Emerald City stepped forward and cleared his throat. "These strangers wish to see the great Oz," he announced. The guard agreed to let them pass, and they headed through the doors of the Grand Palace. Dorothy's tail trembled, shaking, with excitement. Squeakless, the five friends made their way into the enormous green hall, sparkling with emeralds as far as the eye could see. Swiss cheese on rye! It was beautiful! The guard asked Dorothy and her friends to wipe their paws on the green straw mat, then to make themselves at home. "Just wait here," he said kindly. "I'll go to the throne room and announce your visit to the great wizard." They waited for what seemed like hours. Just when Dorothy was about to lose hope, the guard reappeared. "It was more difficult than I expected," he explained. "The wizard has had no desire to see you. But when I said that you were wearing a pair of silver shoes and that you had a strange mark on your forehead, he suddenly agreed. However, he said you must appear before him one at a time on different days." The five friends looked at each other and shrugged. What could they do? Different days, oh my goodness. The guard continued. "Obviously, you will be guests here at the palace for several days. They would get to stay in this fabulous place." Dorothy could hardly believe it. But the surprises weren't over. Soon a charming mouse appeared, dressed in green from head to tail, and led Dorothy to the room where she and Toto would be staying. It was Marva-Mouse. There was a warm, soft bed, a tiny fountain that bubbled into a marble basin, windows adorned with flowers, shelves with books full of funny illustrations, and a wardrobe stuffed with clothes, all Dorothy's size. That's weird. And everything, absolutely everything, was green. All of Dorothy's friends were led to their rooms too, and each one got busy settling into his comfortable quarters. Dorothy and Toto slept peacefully. The Scarecrow, on the other paw, couldn't get used to his fancy room and soft bed. He didn't lie down at all. Instead, he just stood next to the bed, straight as a board, and waited for dawn. Rancid ricotta! What a long night! The Tin Woodman didn't need to close his eyes either, but he tried to lie down anyway and enjoy his comfortable room. But instead, he spent the night moving his joints one by one to keep them from getting stuck or rusting. Yes, it's very important to keep your body moving and get a lot of exercise. The Cowardly Lion would have preferred to lie down in a nice bed of soft grass rather than the fancy canopy bed he found in his room. But he didn't want to be rude, so he curled up carefully on the mattress and fell into a deep sleep. And so the five friends spent a peaceful night in the Palace of Oz. They had no idea what surprises the next day would bring, but they wanted to be ready. Chapter 21. The Great Wizard of Oz. The next morning, Dorothy put on a green dress and a beautiful green pinafore. Toto even had a green ribbon tied around his neck. Then a kind mouse led them to the throne room entrance. Dorothy's fur stood on end. She had heard so many different things about the Wizard of Oz that she didn't know what to expect. Outside the throne room, many rodents were milling around, all dressed in elaborate fabulous clothing. "They come here every day," the kind mouse explained to Dorothy, "but only because they have nothing else to do. None of them have ever been admitted to see the great Oz." Suddenly, a bell echoed through the hall. A mouse quickly motioned Dorothy to step forward. "That's the signal! Oz is waiting for you." Shaking in her fur, Dorothy entered the throne room and was immediately struck by a blinding light. How would you feel if you spent this whole time on this grand adventure and went through all the things they did to see this being, and now the time has finally come? How would you feel? Nervous? Excited? Scared? All of the above? Thousands of shining green emeralds reflected all around her, from the walls, the floor, and even the ceiling. Dorothy noticed a small screen off in one corner, but she could hardly take her eyes off the enormous, majestic marble throne in the center of the room. Holy cheese! There was no one actually sitting on the throne. There's back to it. Not an elephant, not a fairy, not an elf. None of the creatures Dorothy had heard about. There was only a huge head hovering over the seat, with eyes, nose, and a mouth bigger than a giant's. Squeak! Dorothy turned as white as a slab of mozzarella cheese. The wizard's two immense eyes fell over her. Then he spoke in a thundering voice. "I am the great and terrible Oz. Who are you? And why have you come to see me?" "I am Dorothy," she squeaked quietly. "I'm here to ask for your help." The huge eyes studied her closely. "Why are you wearing those shoes?" All right, you got a picture break. So there she is, with Toto with the glasses, and there he is. Oh boy. And she's wearing those silver shoes. Dorothy twisted her tail and replied, "They're the silver shoes of the evil witch of the East. My house fell on her during a tornado, and the witch of the North told me I should take them." "And why do you have that mark on your forehead?" the wizard asked. Let's go back in the story and see if we can see the mark. Oh, not there. Were you in the other pictures? I remember she did the mark. I was just curious if they showed in the illustrations. I don't see it. Okay. "That's where the witch of the North kissed me before sending me here," Dorothy explained. "I just want to go home to Kansas. Can you help me?" "Why should I help you?" Oh, he's mean, this wizard, the wizard asked. Dorothy looked down at the ground. "Because you are a great and powerful wizard, and I'm just a poor, helpless mouse." "You have defeated the witch of the East," the wizard boomed. "So you must be able to defeat the witch of the West, too. Do that, and I will help you return to Kansas." Dorothy stared at him in disbelief. "But I didn't defeat anyone. It was an accident. I can never hurt anybody, not even a wicked witch." "That doesn't matter to me," Oz pronounced. "If you do not defeat the Wicked Witch of the West, you will never return home. Oh. I added the last part. All right, last chapter for today. Chapter 22, The Many Faces of Oz. Oh boy, she looks sad. Dorothy left the throne room with her tail between her legs. Outside, her friends were waiting anxiously for her. "Well, how'd it go?" they asked. "Oh, I'll never be able to go home," she squeaked, tears rolling down her snout. "Oz wants me to defeat the Wicked Witch of the West before he'll help me." Her friends tried to comfort her, but they knew that none of them could change the wizard's mind. Dorothy spent the rest of the day in her room, trying to think of a solution, without much luck. After a long, exhausting day, she finally fell asleep. The next morning, it was the Scarecrow's turn to see the wizard. And I'm thinking of the movie, and I thought that in the movie they went all at once, but I haven't seen the movie in a while. So I wonder if that's a contrast, a difference from the book to the movie. I'll have to check on that. When he entered the throne room, he found himself in front of the most beautiful creature he had ever encountered, a fairy. So he didn't see Oz the same way. Emerald green curls and tumbled onto her shoulders, and 2 wings fluttered on her back. She wore a green silk dress and a sparkling emerald tiara. "I am the great and terrible Oz," she declared in a sweet voice that contradicted what she was saying. "Who are you, and why have you come to see me?" Trembling, shaking, the Scarecrow bowed clumsily. With all the stuffing, it wasn't easy to bow. I am just a simple scarecrow stuffed with straw," he said quickly. "I'm here because I really want a brain." "I do not grant favors without asking for something in return," the fairy, which is Oz, replied. "If you want a brain, you must defeat the Wicked Witch of the West." I see a pattern here. The Scarecrow returned to his friends, heartbroken, and told them about his meeting with the fairy. The same thing happened the next day when the Tin Woodman had his turn in front of the wizard. This time the wizard took the form of a terrible, ferocious beast. He was as big as an elephant and had a head like a rhinoceros, but with 5 eyes. Luckily, the Tin Woodman didn't have a heart, so he couldn't be truly afraid. "I am the great and terrible Oz," the beast roared. "Who are you? Why have you come to see me?" "I am the Tin Woodman, and I'm here to ask you for a heart," the woodman replied. "I want to love again." "If you wish for a heart," the beast replied, "you must earn it. Defeat the Witch of the West, and you will have the kindest heart in the kingdom." The poor woodsman returned to his friends, miserable. So there's the fairy that the Scarecrow saw. Very shocked, you can tell by his facial expression. Very different from what the Tin Woodman saw and what Dorothy saw. Wonder what the lion's going to see. Finally, it was the lion's turn. When he arrived in the throne room, the great Oz transformed into an enormous flaming ball of fire. But when the fireball spoke, its voice was very calm. "I am the great and terrible Oz. Who are you? And why have you come to see me?" The lion tried to step closer, but scorched, that means burnt, his whiskers. "Rotten rat's teeth." "I am the Cowardly Lion," he replied, rubbing his snout. "I'm here because I would like some courage so I can finally become a worthy king of peace." The fireball flared up, then gave a familiar reply. "Defeat the Wicked Witch of the West, and you will have all the courage and confidence that you desire." The lion bowed his head and left the room disheartened. For the love of cheese, what were they going to do? End of the chapter. What do you think, Snoop? What do you guys think is going to happen next? I hope you enjoyed today's reading. Read, 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 and be kind.